So this man, the Unknown Warrior, what a story, what a journey this has been for Marshall Thompson Jr. to return to competition. He has spent 12 years away from competing, Frank. 12 years since he last made this walk. He was 3-1. He was a former champion amateur. A lot of eyes on him. The nickname Unknown Warrior came because he was so many parts of so many camps for big fights. Fights against Phil Davis, fights against Dominic Cruz. Big names were preparing and using him because of his talent, his skill. Unfortunately, his mom was ill, his father was ill. He made the move back to go and look after them. He also, in that time, set up his own gym. He has also become a psychologist, PhD graduate. So he said, now is the time. I put all these things behind me. And he said, now I want to show people I might be 41 years of age. I might be on the, you know, what people would consider the wrong side of that number for an athletic career. But I want to show people what is possible. This is what I was meant to do. It was taken away from me. I had to sacrifice to give back to the ones I love, which I would never, you know, be begrudged for. But right now, right here, this walk, this moment, this fight is 12 years in the making.
I know, it's an incredible story. And, you know, obviously just one that I have hope for, that he's able to pull it off. And really, honestly, he's not a normal 41-year-old fighter. You know, a lot of guys sit to go at 41. I'm like, yeah, but he hasn't had the abuse for the last 12 years that a lot of other guys that are 41 who've been fighting for that amount of time. The aches and pains and injuries and wear and tear from training camp after training camp. And even nowadays, look, you're not even in your training, you know, training for your fight, but you're training other guys. So you're in there sparring and wrestling and putting the wear and tear on that body. So now he's been able to run a gym, be in there mentally focusing on the sport, improving his skill set, being in there sparring with guys that are high level, but without that wear and tear. I'm really curious to see what he's able to do tonight, and I actually have high hopes his performance is going to be very good.
Yeah, he is super excited for this, that moment, that entry, that walk, and tonight has been something he has dreamt of, and those dreams have come true. But there is one man looking to spoil that party. Let's welcome Brandon, the Gladiator Gaitor. Here he comes, standing proud, standing tall, Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor from Memphis, Tennessee. 34 years young, a pro record of 4-4. 2 of those wins are by finish, 1 knockout, 1 submission. And Frank, when I spoke to him, look, he said, look, I'm living my dream. I love to fight. This is the thing, everything else is work. This bit where I get to become myself when that cage door closes, that is what I live for. And he's doing it in his home city.
Yeah, and again, that mentality of loving what you do, so important. It allows you to go out there and make it through the aches and pains and the injuries of what you're going through. And here he has a great opportunity tonight to go out there and showcase the skills of a guy who's, you know, very much plays it hard. He comes forward. He's not a guy who's going to just sit back and hold and, you know, does that come with its own nicks and bruises? Yeah, a lot of his losses are by finishes, but that's because the guy has such a wide open style coming forward, allows opportunities to be both in his favor and against him. But for us as fans, it always makes for a very good experience to watch a guy who's not trying to win a fight by decision, not trying just to hold on and eke out and slow something down. The guy goes out there and he loves battling, and it showcases in the way he fights.
He certainly does. He lives for these moments, and he thrives to do it in front of his hometown, his home city. Let's look at the tail of the tape between these two. Marshall the Unknown Warrior Thompson versus Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor. You look there, 34 versus 42. Height and reach pretty much the same. For 12 years it has been for Marshall Thompson Jr. to make this walk. And in that time, Brandon Gaitor has built all 10 of those pro fights under his record. Look, we're set, we are ready. Let's get it underway. Let's hand it to Cyrus Feast.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Introducing first the fighter on my right, fighting out of the blue corner. He's just 5'11" tall, weighing in at 145.4 pounds. His record, 3 wins and 1 defeat. Fighting out of Jackson, Mississippi, I give you the Unknown Warrior, Marshall Thompson Jr. And And now his opponent, standing across the cage, fighting out of the red corner. He's at 5'11" tall, weighing in at 145 pounds. His record: 5 wins and 5 defeats. Fighting out of Memphis, Tennessee, I give you Brandon, the Gladiator, Gaitor. Your referee, Eric McMahon.
Set and ready we are for this featherweight contest. 3 5-minute rounds. The Unknown Warrior, Marshall Thompson. Blue corner, black shorts, taking on Brandon, the Gladiator, Gaitor. He's in those funky blue and orange shorts. Red corner, oh, coming forward, Marshall Thompson. And Frank, we talk about that 12 years away. The sport moves on so much, right, in that amount of time. In a year, yet alone, 12 years.
Yep. But he's been able to be consistent. Isn't a guy who's been sitting at home.
Oh, he's bringing it as well. Look at that.
He was working great behind that jab. In fact, when Gaitor threw that roundhouse right to the body, he fired correctly with that straight cross.
Yeah, Marshall has his own academy, martial arts. And he said he's been training with the youngsters, helping them develop. He's got some pros in his camp as well. So he feels that, you know, this is great advantage for him because he is not the fighter he was 12 years ago. Yet he has been training with fighters that have moved through the game. And look at this nice clinch.
A nice plum. Landed a great knee to the body there. Was able to stop and nullify the takedown attempt there from Gaitor. Came forward really great, trying to grab on the hips, but just Marshall was able to draw his hips away, create a frame.
Gaitor coming over the top with that right hand. And Gaitor said to me, he said, look, I can't watch tape on this dude. He's like, literally, how do I prepare a game plan? So I've just got to go in there and fight. I've got to pretend this is, you know, somebody that is fresh off the street, trying to look, forget the 42, forget the numbers, forget the years. I've got to go in there and beat me and just make this my fight.
He's absolutely correct, you know. He's trying to sit there and look at what Thompson looked like 12 years ago. You can get some ideas of maybe athletic ability, tendencies, mindsets. But for the most part, the guy's now been training and training other people now. Oh. The skill set's going to be just developed to a much higher level, which we're seeing right now.
Yeah, 2 minutes down. Oh, both exchanging jabs there. We were talking last night about another famous martial artist, a boxer, Jack Johnson. He fought to the ripe old age of 67, Frank.
Hey, you said that in front of my wife, man. You don't do that no more.
I saw your wife just look. I don't know, I've never seen dollar signs appear so quickly.
I just finally convinced her that I only got a few more in me, man.
Unbelievable stuff.
This shit hurts, man. You're getting old.
You know, you look good, Frank. You look good.
Don't do what he do. Just touch him.
Oh, nice right hand again. Gaitor eats it well, though.
Yeah, Gaitor just has much more of a battle style. You see, even when he drives his hands down, it's kind of a way of like, look, jump in, throw punches so that I can hit you. You know, some guys have a style very much like that. They're like, hey, look, I'm not going to worry about faking you out or setting you up. I'm going to lower my hand. When you come in and hit me, I'll know exactly where you are.
Yes, yeah.
You're going to be where I can hit you. And then Thompson, though, has a much more classical style, just being, you know, technique, trying to set up his shots. You see his fakes, his setups. Look how he's twitching. I'm trying to twitch, not letting Gaitor know when I'm coming. All right, here, fake, shake, and really work behind the jab is primarily what he's been doing, which is classical way of teaching guys in MMA now. Hey, use the hand that's going to put you in the least amount of danger and closest to your opponent. Throw it out, takes the least amount of energy, and if you establish it well, it allows you to set up everything else.
A couple of times, though, you've seen Gaitor throw that left hand, that sweeping left hook coming across, and the right hand hasn't always been on the chin of Thompson, so he's got to be careful of that, Frank.
Absolutely. When you throw your jab, again, and that's why Thompson is throwing his fakes. You can't get predictable because you extend that lead hand. If your opponent decides to throw a overhand right over the top of that lead shoulder of yours, that's one of the more devastating punches in MMA or in boxing, in throwing hands. And you just traded a jab for it, which is a horrible exchange. I've seen more than enough in front of both of us. Seen more than our share of guys just get knocked out by throwing what we call a lazy jab.
Yeah. 45 seconds. Oh, left in this one, this first round. I don't know what the longest hiatus you took from the cage. Obviously, from the leg break, I'm expecting, Frank. But what was it like when you returned, having that adrenaline dump? Because this is all that's going through my mind is Marshall Thompson is in somewhere where he should be feeling familiar, but 12 years ago was the last time he was stood there.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult when you first get back in, and it's been a while. Just some of the things that you're like, oh, I remember this, but I haven't felt it in so long. It can almost like becomes new all over again.
He said to me as well, 12 years ago, I was the headliner. I was the one either the co-main event or the main event. And he said, now I've got to get used to I'm the prelim guy. But, oh, he's got dropped. Now look at Gaitor following him down. Final seconds of round number 1, but a great way for Gaitor to finish it.
And Thompson on his part didn't freak out and panic and do anything crazy. Grabbed that wrist into control, nullified a lot of damage that could have came.
Round 1 in the books. A tasty little exchange between these two, right? A real chess match at striking. Not a single takedown really attempted, just to follow down with the final exchange there.
Yeah, it'd be a hard round to judge. I think that if, you know, in my opinion, I feel that, that Marshall Thompson had the better exchanges, landed more shots, even though there was nothing really, truly devastating landed by either guy. But see there, again, just nice, sharp, marksman-like shots. He's landing, throwing with less, you know, and there, though, the slip with control there and great wrist control on the part of Gaitor, showing that's his mentality very much as a guy who will take advantage of anything that you make a mistake. And so Marshall, you know, Thompson's having a fight with that thought now that, hey, I'm going to have to go out there, be clean and be sharp. And even if I'm landing and doing great things, if I leave the window open, Brandon Gaitor's the kind of guy that's going to just fly right through it and take advantage of whatever's given to him.
So here we are, round number 2 underway. These fights brought to you in association with F3 Energy. You can go to Amazon.now and you can go using 50 off UFL 2 to get 50% off all F3 Energy products. That includes our brand new protein cookies, chocolate chip and birthday cake on offer. Get your 50% off, 50 off UFL 2 to our Amazon store, United Fight League. Oh, coming forward, sitting on these punches, Frank.
He faked the jab, loaded up that lead hook, and followed it with a cross.
Brandon is so happy just to take the center of the cage, right? You say, you come to me, we'll go punch for punch.
Brandon is, you know, a gifted guy, hits hard. And sometimes your success can also be your detriment at times. And because of his success with landing hard shots, you know, like, hey, look, if I eat one and you eat one, most of his opponents have been on the worst end of that exchange. Sometimes it can make it to where you have more of a, you know, a less cautious style like he has. You can see where the hands are a little bit more loose and relaxed, going, all right, I'll invite a shot so that I can land one of my own.
Oh, Thompson slips that one. That was nice. Gaitor coming with combinations, Frank. He's not a single shot fighter, really. Oh, low kick again.
Yeah, nice though exchange though there. I like it. Low kick, but Thompson was able to turn his shin out so he didn't catch him in the calf and fired a right hand right on Gaitor's jaw. That's, you know, that's stuff that you take home and I sit there and go, hey, how do you do this? Well, this is what you do. Guy throws a low kick. If you don't want to move your leg out of the way, you're going to take it on the front of your shin, angle into it, but then you have to punish people for things. Can't ever give away what I call a free shot. You take a kick and you block it, and the guy, and that's it. It's like, well, guess what? He's not deterred at all at not throwing that again, and maybe next time you don't block it. Maybe next time you don't evade it. So instead, punish people for things. Hey, you feel what? Nice uppercut. Just like that on Gaitor's part. He took that kick, fired a right hand cross immediately after it landed a nice hook, too.
It's funny, when I talked to Marshall Thompson about this fight, he said, man, I see so much of myself in Brandon Gaitor, and they are almost the same style, right, Frank? It's slightly more evasive from Thompson, but happy to exchange and switch it up, swing those punches, swing those kicks.
Yeah, about the only real significant, you can see Thompson has a little bit more of a go first mindset when they line up with each other. And Gaitor has a little bit of you go and then I'll go mindset. You know, I know that you're in and we're in fighting when you throw your shot.
See Gaitor reacting to those leg kicks a little more though, Frank.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the last roundhouse that Gaitor took to that left calf. Changed the way he put his foot back down. You can tell when people set something down, the nerves are kind of like going, hey, what's going on here? And
Need some leg kicks. Come on, set up.
Oh, overhand right. Wow. Solid
back with a
shot.
right hook.
Whoa. Swinging for the fences. Nice clinch again here. Let's see if Thompson goes back to it, targeting that lead left leg. Since that round has again. It's the first time we're seeing Gaitor take backward steps, right, Frank? He's not planting and holding that center as much.
No, I think that they had a good exchange there where Gaitor threw that overhand right, landed great. But immediately afterwards, I mean, Thompson, before Gaitor got his hand back, fired a right hook off his backside and landed it. And I think that made an impact.
Oh, that's a slip. That's a slip. Oh, but Gaitor following him to the ground here.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
but
dear, look at this. Going for the heel hook reap.
Yep, he has it. He sets over to see if he can. He stretches out. He really's got the toes in a great position.
Oh, my goodness. What a return. This would be Marshall Thompson Jr.
Great defense, though, for Gaitor. Was able to get the leg out, but doesn't have his weight completely over it. Now he does. He pushes forward.
Oh, big elbows. Oh, bad spot here for Marshall Thompson. He's got to get out of this one.
He's going for the toe hold.
He's bleeding, Frank. That's a huge cut.
Wow.
Wow. Those slicing elbows. Final seconds of round number 2. What a change. It looked like the heel hook was going to be a threat, but then great defense from... That's it. Oh, my goodness. That is it. Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor gets it finished just at the end of round number 2. Wow, Frank.
Yeah. You know, hey, footlocks, I'm a fan of, but they got to be done a little bit differently in MMA because the punishment that can be received, it isn't the same. In a grappling match, no gi, you hook up a heel hook like that, and the guy comes up and blocks a wrist, blocks your hips from extending and shoulders from rotating. He can tie you up, but there's no punishment for it. In MMA, it's a little bit different. All of a sudden, there's a price to be paid. You got to make sure that you keep the person's weight off you. Like one quick rule of thumb, whenever I'm footlocking somebody in MMA scenarios, I make sure I have them off balance. They can't rotate on top of you. If they do, abandon the footlock and get the hell out of there.
We got Marshall Thompson. There's a nasty cut right on the back of his head there.
Yeah, Gaitor landed some vicious elbows, and just that skin on the head, just bone on bone, makes contact, it splits. And again, just, you know, Thompson just got greedy with the footlock. He landed the heel hook at first, you know, the way he used the reap, threw it over, engaged. He had the toes tucked into the armpit. Forearm was in a good position on the back of the ankle. Everything was being done right. But the minute Gaitor got on top of him, you can use the footlock, has to switch to a sweep now. I'll use that to sweep you to a hip. And maybe, you know, go for it again or just get on top or bail. Hey, man, I'm going to kick you off my chest. We're going to get out of here. But right now in this position, you're basically in a reverse half guard. Let it go, you know? If you can't get the guy off you through a sweep, don't hang on the foot. And I say that out of experience. I lost a fight holding on to a footlock way longer than I should have. Watch the film and go, okay, this is what we have to do here.
So that is it, done and dusted. Let's make it official. Let's hand it to Cyrus Feet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eric McMahon stops the fight at 4 minutes and 59 seconds of round number 2. Your winner by TKO to the strikes, Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor.
Law school, baby. Law school, baby.
There
Memphis
we go.
represent.
Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor claiming victory here in Memphis City, his hometown. Credit to Marshall Thompson Jr. making that walk. 12 years since his last competitive MMA fight. And again, stepped away from the sport to look after his family, to earn that PhD. But tonight was Brandon the Gladiator Gaitor's night. And Frank, just talk us through the finish once more.
He slipped after that exchange, stepping backwards. He reaped up a great heel hook, but here when he sat up, had the leg trap, the foot trap, maybe could have used that as a sweep, but instead held on to it, and by holding on to it, Gaitor did everything right. He positioned himself on top, secured it, made sure his foot was safe, and at that point unleashed rage, and that's just a bad position to be in, and he showed everybody why.